All right, Coach. Well, thanks for having me. My name is Jeff Long. I'm the defensive coordinator at John Carroll University, located in Cleveland, Ohio. Really excited to be here tonight. We're going to talk about some run fits and how we teach them in our defense and how we try to create as much same as principles with our guys and how we start creating our run fits week to week and really how they can match up versus, a variety of schemes and really how they build in to your overall defensive structure, trying to make sure you create those same as patterns. So real excited to have you guys here tonight. In terms of, John Carroll football, we're obviously blessed that we have a heck of a program, Division III program, that is filled with tradition, something that we uphold. Being a man of Carroll and being a part of that tradition is something we're very proud of. And we're heading into our fourth year as a staff there with Coach Rick Finati. We're really excited about the future. Defensively, we've been able to have some really successful defenses really over the last over the last decade at John Carroll, with a variety of coordinators. But the biggest thing I think that links them all together is the mindset of eliminating the run. Okay, at the end of the day, I know football has become a pass-first game at times, but we still believe that to this day, hey, you got to eliminate the run and you got to make sure that you eliminate it, emphatically, in order to make sure that you're dominating that game. And we kind of break things down on how we do it and how we take that mindset into our game planning and into our teaching. Okay, multiplicity to simplicity. So what we look at is multiplicity, and we want to change the pre-snap picture for the opposition. So whether it's the offensive coordinator, the quarterback, the offensive line, whoever's making decisions, whoever is able to make those calls for the offense, we want to make sure that we are confusing him at all times with multiple looks, pre-snap disguises, and while we're doing all that, at the end of the day, we're still playing our simple rules. We're creating those same as principles and keeping it simple. We try to make sure that we're able to do that in our teaching, and our guys have responded really well. Every snap to us, we must be fundamentally sound, and fundamentally sound not only in our technique, but also in our call. Okay, if you want to stop the run in my opinion, you do not want to be, all right, hey, I got to send 6 every play. I got to send 5. Like, you need to be sound, and it all starts with teaching, understanding where your guys fit, okay, and whatever your base scheme is, okay, whatever your base scheme is. And we're going to talk about, what we do in our, in our 4-down structure, and how we kind of build things, from the back end down in terms of how those run fits happen. And, and really, making sure that you are sound and those 11 guys on the field understand where they fit, and then just creating that sound defensive picture. All right. And guys, this isn't the first time that you've heard this, but this is something we truly believe in. Run defense is a mentality. Okay. It's a mentality. It's built on pride, strain, and toughness. Okay. Pride in that, hey, I am not going to let another man physically impose his will on me at the line of scrimmage, at the point of attack, okay? And we're going to make sure this play ends on our terms. We strain to finish every play, and that's how great things happen. You strain to finish, and you create that takeaway, all right? And then you create that TFL, and you really can take away the run and take a team's heart when they cannot run the football. And last is toughness, and that's the third portion of the run, the eliminating the run mentality. And toughness, as defined by John Carroll football, is doing the right thing when the wrong thing would be easier. Okay, so we're going to talk about some different techniques and some different things that we see, whether it's denting a block, hammer a block, all those good things. And it's tough. Sometimes it's a pain in the butt to get a kickoff block and to dent it, to win underneath, with violent hand, to get your hat inside, be able to two-gap it. And when the ball bounces, you're able to shed and still add in on the play. Sometimes that's hard. It's easier to just take the easy way out. But, we pride ourselves in being able to be tough, and be tough is doing the right thing when the wrong thing would be easier. All right. And at the end of the day, guys, with this mentality, it is all something that we can control. Okay. And I'll stress that again. We as coaches, we as players, our unit, our team, that is something we control. That pride, that strain, and that toughness. Okay. Now, in terms of our teaching progression, all right, everything we do from day one install to game week adjustments to in-game adjustments, it all starts with what we want to teach and how we teach. Okay. The coverages that we run, the fronts that we pair with it, the stunts, the pressures, everything has to come from your core base principles. If that's your quarters base, you need to be able to teach that quarters to every guy on your roster so that they can speak that same language that you do. Okay. If it's a middle field close, if it's a cover 3 base, you need to be able to speak that language with each one of your players and be able to teach it in that way. Cover 2, cover 1, you go down the line. Whatever your base is, and that's who you are, you need to make sure that is how it's simple for you to teach. It's simple for you to convey to your players. And then to expand on your base, to create layers of complexity while keeping it simple, you need to work to create same as principles. Okay. So whether it's underneath drops, whether it's coverages in terms of alignments, pre-snaps, all that, you want to create same as principles and layer them throughout the multiple calls that you are trying to build. Okay. And the great thing that separates the good from the great, or the, hey, we're doing a lot, but we're not having success, is understanding when that same as principle can apply. Okay. It's not going to fit in everything. All right. Some of your man-to-man verbiage and techniques isn't going to fit into your cover 2 techniques, and vice versa. You never know. So at the end of the day, it's being able to recognize when it is time to have those same as principles. All right. For us, no matter what the coverage is in our base defenses, your pass responsibility determines your run fit. Okay, so wherever you're finishing in terms of being a dropper, in terms of being, even if you're an outside guy, a cover corner, all that good stuff, you need to make sure your pass responsibility determines your run fit. Tonight, we're going to focus on, the 2 types of run fits that we teach our guys based on how our coverage manipulates the box. Okay. But at the end of the day, you must start from the top down. That's the most important thing. Because at the end of the day, if you want to be able to play the pass effectively, they cannot act independent of one another. Okay. And it starts with the pass. Okay. It starts with the pass, and then you work your way down. All right. And determine that run fit. And really what it helps with us is giving those guys, those linebackers, those second level players, they give them tools so that they can have their pass responsibility covered based on pre-snap alignment and where they need to go, and give them the ability to manipulate the front, okay, if they need it. So that's always good, and that's part of the layers of the teaching that we try to do. All right. In terms of our linebackers and our, and our, hybrid outside backers, your DBs, our linebackers, we talk about leverage to trigger. Okay. So at the end of the day, you have to understand what type of fit you're in and be able to leverage the football. Okay. So you can trigger and match that back's intention. Okay. Just like anything, if he's giving you a flat back path, we don't want to just start, triggering now, hitting it downhill, and he's working his way outside. Leverage to trigger, match his intentions. When he, same thing that a defensive back would do, right? When they're playing those drops and they're looking on the quarterback, he settles, I settle. All right. It's creating that trigger point based on the back's intentions. Okay. And really it helps us in terms of being able to play different RPOs, being able to play different second level routes, because our guys they're taking their read steps. They're able to work laterally at their depth, and they're not just triggering right now because they see something. They have to see that back through their triangle and be able to rock and roll. But really the leverage is a lateral piece that then they can trigger once they have identified that leverage. All right. Now, we have 2 main types of run fits in our base defenses, and we'll talk about them here in a second. And the big one to understand, how we do it is we count the core of a formation. So any type of formation, you're going to have the quarterback in the backfield 99.9% of the time. All right. And when the core, it's like a line of demarcation. Is it quarterback +1 or is it quarterback +2? Okay. So at the end of the day, is there a quarterback and one back? Is there a quarterback and two backs? And really, it's just bodies. Doesn't matter if it's a back or a tight end. Is there two bodies plus that quarterback? Is there one body plus that quarterback in the backfield? Okay. That's what we're looking at. When it's QB +1, we get what we call a two-man fit. Okay. This is nice and easy at the 4-down spacing. All right. So we have 4 defensive linemen. Right now, we're in some type of spread set. So you have 2x2 open, 3x1 open. This is the most common that you see in terms of your two-man fit. And no matter what coverage you're in, okay, no matter what base coverage you're in, the formation is dictating, right? The formation is dictating that anybody that you're dropping down or anybody that you can have as an extra hat in the run fit, they're going to come down outside of the box because of where the spacing is of the wide receivers. So your coverage adjustments within whatever coverage you're running, that's going to dictate this fit, meaning, hey, it's a two-man fit, so my 2 guys in the box, that's who's going to make these plays, all right? And at the end of the day, when you have that two-man fit, it's one back, one gap. We need to leverage the football as the Mike and Will, okay? So we don't just talk about, all right, hey, you're firing this open A gap, you're firing this open B gap, all right? That's not how we look at things, all right? We want them to understand as they're keying this tailback, we want to make sure we are creating a vice on the football at all times. So as we see this ball break, if it's here, this Will's got to keep the ball carrier on what would be his technically inside shoulder, all right? And the Mike will keep it on his inside shoulder, no matter where it ends up, all right? That's what we're trying to do. If we get any pullers, okay, if we get any pullers in this two-man fit, this QB +1, okay, QB +1, we are going to vice those pullers. So as we get any type of puller from our guard or tackle wrap, okay, then we are making sure as they finish through wherever they end up, all right, if they're pulling through for our backers, we need to get over the top and we vice, meaning we are splitting outside half, inside half, and we're creating that vice on the puller, all right? At the end of the day, we always talk ball over blocker, but the spacing, this leverage is how that we can properly fit insert runs out of this QB +1 and insert by a puller or just your regular zone runs, okay, your regular zone runs. At the end of the day as well, we use our front, okay, we use our front to help us, all right? If, let's say, for argument's sake, you're going to get some type of power, all right? If you get some type of power coming back this way, and we're pulling through, same rules apply in terms of, hey, we're going to make sure we're tracking that football. We're tracking that football. We're leveraging, and we're going to make sure we create that vice fit. And now we'll use the front on a back block. He sees his visual key pull. He can slip across that late to help limit the little seams that come up of holding those gaps, all right? So at the end of the day, two-man fit, QB +1, or one back, one gap. All right. One back, one gap. Leverage the football, vice your pullers. All right. Again, just another example now. Everybody always, what about GT counter? All right. I had 10 personnel. It's a tough one. All right. At the end of the day, you get 2 pullers. One of them, 99% of the time, is coming for your defensive end. In our base coverages, okay, our defensive ends, they will dent, meaning they will violently attack that kick out block, hat and hands through the inside sternum and cuff of the puller, and they're getting their, bolts to chin in terms of their pad level, and they're looking speed to lock, okay, speed to lock. And that way they're going to win inside and make that ball bounce. We don't teach the spill or the wrong arm where you rip and underneath, because that takes you out of the play. We want to be able to bang, hat, hands. We're looking, if that ball's inside, I'm right there. If it bounces outside, now I get 2 gap and be an extra hat into play, all right? And now, again, as we're seeing this back footwork, all right? We're seeing this back footwork. Our Mike and Will, they are the vice players here. They're going to vice that second puller. It's really the first puller, okay, the first puller that gets through to the second level, all right? And that's how we work it. That's how we work it. So the hammer and a dent piece, when we are vicing pullers, Willie now fits the outside half. Mike, biggest thing we understand when we talk about leverage to trigger is you see this counteraction plus your pullers. We don't want to start hitting it downhill now. We want to stay lateral, stay clean over the top so we can continue to maintain that vice relationship on our insert puller. And again, like we talked about, your backside D lineman can work this late instead of just holding down this essentially gone B gap. We need to make sure he's slipping in across this back block. All right. It's a great drill for, especially for half line drills as you work in these 2-man fits. All right. Now we're going to take a couple of examples here for you guys. I have end zone and the wide copies for some, but we're going to try and just go right to the end zone here so we can see. All right. So in this coverage here, all right, if you look at the formation, it's 2x2 open. Okay. It's 2x2 open. We have a safety who's going to roll down and be the second piece here. All right. That's the beautiful thing, that these can translate. It doesn't just have to be your 2 inside backers. Depending on where you're at, you create this two-man fit, all right, based on your coverage rules. So now it's QB plus 1. So your 2 box fitters, they need to understand it's a 2-man fit. They're vicing all pullers. They're vicing the football. So as we look through here, our Will linebacker here, okay, he's got to make sure he does a better job recognizing sooner. He want to keep that ball on this shoulder here, all right? We're reducing the front, backside here. Doesn't change your fit, but we do a great job of knocking that back, and now it can wind back, but we need to make sure that he's seeing this as fast as possible. And now as we're coming top down, this safety needs to be able to work his way over the top, all right, and get into that hat, get his hat into that picture quickly, all right? Again, we reduce the front due to this set and our coverage, which helps us out. We can reduce this front by making a fist call, okay? Making a fist call, and now instead of playing just the, B gap and C gap or A gap and C gap, you can just reduce this front and allow these backers to have free access, and it's not easy for them to climb and create their zone combos, okay? And it all starts with those fitters. Now we'll take a look at it here. All right. Now we're into this 2-man fit again. 2-man fit. Really good look here. As you look at number 10 here, he's going to be your hammer piece. Does a really good job. Ball over blocker, right? Ball over blocker. And he's working, straining to keep him this back as he goes flat on his inside shoulder. Your Mike backer is here. Number 12. Doing a great job, staying clean, staying lateral. All right, we even get a little bit of knockback against our D-line, but we're able to still stay clean, stay over the top in pursuit. All right, as we take a look at the end zone of that, slow it down. Number 10 here, right now, here we are. This is a defensive end. You have your 2 backers that are a part of the box here, okay? 2 backers that are part of the box. You'll have your force player outside here for perimeter run, okay? It could be your corner, it could be your safety, whoever it is for you in your particular coverage. But at the end of the day, your fits here are 2-man fit. It's QB plus 1. QB plus 1. All right? It's a great job. Ball over block. Nice and easy. Now, again, as we take a look at this here, QB plus 1. We get motion. Okay, if we get motion, I'll show you the end zone here. If we get motion, we can create a QB plus 2. All right, so you could treat this as now 2 back. All right, or if you feel like it's happening too fast, depending on what you want to do for that week, it's still a QB plus 1. Either way, you want to make it simple. You want to make sure that you're decisive with it and you can have that adjustment. So if a team's giving you a ton of jet motion and you want to keep it as your 2-man fit because they're doing a ton of pass stuff off it, you want to keep your 3rd guy out of the box, awesome. If you want to make it the adjustment where, hey, We want to now treat this as a QB plus 2, which we'll get here in a moment, create a 3-man fit, and we can do that as well. Okay, we treated this, this became a 3-man fit. So as that works, you now have an extra hat into the box. He's making his call, creates a hammer, splitter, hammer relationship, okay, a 3-man fit. So as we see any lead or insert blocker, our hammer and our splitter are making sure that they are vicing the first insert, and then we have a cutback player to help us out as well. All right. And again, our defensive ends, they're going to be dent players. They're also going to be pup quarterback players. Pin the hip, up the field, and they are ready to play the quarterback versus the run. That is their guy. Now, as we take a look at it here, again, QB plus 1. Really good look at your Mike backer here. He sees that flat action. He gets his read. It's a give. Good tempo by 22 here. Again, just keeping that tempo, We're vicing the football. Now we got to go make a play. Take a look at this one from the end zone here. Again, what's the count in the backfield? QB plus 1. All right, QB plus 1. So now we're doing a great job understanding, again, the ball's everything, right? So it's a really good look at your backers here, not falling for the bait, vice position. And now as we're tracking, and you're letting your D-line help you out up front, okay? We have an interior guy get scooped a bit here. He's playing hard, but our backers now are able to fit this and vice the football, all right? At the end of the day, we're not trying to, again, we don't like saying, like, hey, you have this gap, because that's how plays like this, we call it sonic. That's how they get you, because you start triggering, and now you're going to create seams. Now you can muddy up that picture, getting great knockback by your defensive line, and you're rocking and rolling. Okay. Again, one more example of the mindset of working on a string here. Again, you see the flat picture, your vicing of the football by number 12 here and number 10. See the give. All right, now we're rocking and rolling. Again, it is at the end of the day, it's for their box fits. Once it hits to the perimeter, we have a force player, right? But still that same tempo and understanding where the back's action is and where we're rocking and rolling, okay? Now, in terms of the count, we're going to move on to our 3-man fit. We just mentioned it earlier, okay? So QB plus 2. So you can get, again, 2 bodies in the box. It could be an attached tight end. It could be a snug alignment, tight end in the hip, the sniffer. He could be outside, inside, doesn't matter. Anytime there's 2 of those bodies in the box plus the quarterback, that's now going to create a 3-man fit. And it depends on what coverage you're running, right, of who that third fitter is going to be. How are you rotating him down? And how are you balancing your box now that there's an extra hat in there, okay? So it could be, quarters, cover 3, cover 2. Cover 1's a little different in terms of the man-to-man responsibilities, but in your zone stuff, you can create this 3-man fit, okay? This 3-man fit, and really do a nice job of making sure that you're balanced. Again, leverage ball to trigger, okay? Now, the hammer, splitter, hammer. When we talk about dent, right? So we look at it here. I'll show you on the next page. A dent of a kick out, that's winning inside half of a block. A hammer is making sure that you are keeping your outside arm free, okay? Some people refer to it as box, but we are a hammer player, all right? So we're keeping that outside arm free, and we're making sure we're getting everything back inside. So when we get, all right, a 3-man fit, somebody's going to give either a hammer or a splitter call, depending on who's inserting. If you're inserting as the outside piece, you give a hammer. If you're inserting as the inside piece, you'll give the splitter to allow them to understand, with run at me, we're going to create a vice on that puller. And then your third player is your cutback player. Now, if we were to get run the opposite way, okay, Now he's the hammer, he's still the splitter, and now he's your cutback. So you always, that's why I call it hammer, splitter, hammer. Just depends on where these guys are inserting and how they're running the football. Pullers and inserts, they always have an inside piece and an outside piece, okay? Like we said, your hammer, your splitter, they are still vicing, right? At the end of the day, that's how it ends up working out. And now you add a cutback player into it. But we treat it as such, we name it as such, so they understand no matter where the run happens, it goes back and forth, okay? It goes back and forth. So run this way, you got your hammer, you got your splitter, you got your cutback, run coming back, hammer, splitter, cutback, okay? And again, I can't stress this enough. Your coverage, how you are rotating your coverage, how you are manipulating your coverage, that is how you create these fits, okay? And, you know, we can have separate discussions on, you know, well, how do I do this within the coverages that I run? That's perfectly fine. But understand, we want to create these, and you can use a variety of different coverages to get there, okay? Give another example here. Now you got your traditional 11 personnel, counter GY, you know, nice and easy there. Again, defensive end, we're going to tell him our base coverages, we got a 3-man fit. He's going to dent that first puller, and now we have our leverage, okay, to trigger, hammer, splitter, hammer. So we're able to track this laterally, and then he sees that puller insert, and the ball's coming behind it, bang. He's fitting on the outside shoulder. Your splitter's tracking flat, right? Stay over the top, stay clean, and now he's the inside piece of this puller, the second puller. Now, cool thing again, like we said, you get a back block. We can cross this, all right? Why? Because our hammer player backside is slow to cut back. He's making sure he's cleaning up everything backside. So if this ball, for whatever reason, were to start to wind back, he can make sure he's there to clean it up, okay? So that is how it would fit versus that counter look. And again, guys, nothing changes, just a different example for that 3-man fit. All right, so we're going to take a look at it here. I want to look at this one from the end zone. All right, as we take a look at this here. All right, I'm going to get a little look. Number 10 here is going to be your splitter. All right, number 10 here is going to be your splitter. Really good look at tempo in the football. All right, really good look at tempo in the football as we see this counterplay coming. So you're going to get your dent by 45. Dent teach tape. He's pumping with that tackle down. All right, and now he's attacking. He's fighting for square at the line of scrimmage, and he's taking bang, sternum to cuff, lock and out, speed the lock, knock back, and he's finding the football. Now, number 10, he's reading because he is your splitter. Because as this safety rotates down, he's your hammer, your splitter, and now your hammer, okay? So that you're creating that 3-man fit. That splitter is really tracking that ball, making sure that his near shoulder, okay, wherever the ball hits, he's keeping that. He's not overrunning the football. All right, now watch. His 74 pulls, we get him kicked out. 37's the second puller. 10 sees it. He works his way back to stay clean. He fits inside. And at the end of the day, ball over blocker. Ball over blocker. He fits it. He doesn't overrun it. He doesn't just run in but as a block magnet. It's a really good look. Then you see your hammer down to the outside here, the safety rolling down. Beautiful thing about it, again, builds in to your coverage rules. So here you get a crack replace, and now your corner adds in. Nice and easy. Again, like we said, guys, as we look at this picture, as this comes through, your DNs in that 4-down spacing, they dent the football, all right? So they win inside half of the kickout, allows your 3 pieces here, your hammer, your splitter, and your hammer to work laterally or top down to make sure that they stay clean. All right, they want to stay clean at all costs. So as we look at this here, all right, he's going to dent the kick out. And as we wrap this guy through now, we're giving them time to laterally track the football and not just run into blockers. He could fit underneath. He could stay to the outside. All right, if we got run the other way, now he's your hammer, he's your splitter, he's your cutback. Okay, the cutback players just got to be very, very patient. Okay, he doesn't need to get in a hurry there. We have two guys at the party to make sure that that second puller is taken care of. He wants to stay clean. Never wants to start undercutting blocks. Stay clean at all times. Again, guys, it really allows your D lineman. This is a perfect example here of this 2-eye. If you look at him right here, we talked about slipping the back block here. Slipping the back block. It's a really good look at it. Knockback, he sees the puller, his gap's moving. Now we're able to slip it and add an extra hat to the run fit. Swarm to the football all day. Now take a look at the end zone here. Now this is Hammer is the cutback player, right? So QB plus 2. QB plus 1, 2. So now we've made our call. We've identified a 3-man fit. So now whatever happens, wherever this insert guy, because why is it Y off? It's an insert threat, okay? We need to make sure that we are leveraging him, okay, at all costs as he works his way back. Leveraging him, right? So we're creating the hammer-splitter-hammer relationship. This guy, this splitter player is keeping his shoulder, near shoulder, even with that back, right? Near shoulder, rocking and rolling. So you see it here. So now the runs play side, 12's your hammer, 10's your splitter, all right? The first puller is dented by the DN, so we're good. Now we can track the football. First puller is that insert, that Y back. So now there is no second puller. Now we can track the ball. Boom, we're right here. 12's a little far out of the picture. He can stay a little bit deeper and make sure he's ready to trigger, get better leverage to this shoulder. And now your cutback player, okay, right? He's a hammer if it's run at him. Now it's run away. He's playing it top down, and now he makes sure nothing gets outside of him. Nothing gets outside of him. Nice and easy. Really good look at. Really good look at. Now let's look at the splitter fit here. So now this is one of, we run a couple sims in here and there that we're, sending some different guys. We're sending the will linebacker here. All right. We have another fitter out here who's creating the hammer splitter hammers a little out of the screen. And we have a DN who's dropping, who's the other piece. So we have a 3-man fit right now. They're just a little out of the end zone shot. Now the splitter, he's tracking that football and triggering with that football. So as we get a splitter here, right, this is our insert. This is our insert. The splitter stays on the inside piece. Our anchor, he's a little wide right now, and he's going to come back and exit there. He can fit on that outside piece. And then ball over blocker. Nice and easy. He tracks it. He sees it. And now we're rocking and rolling. We're playing ball. Now, here's the hammer fitter. Tempo, the insert. Okay. So we see this now, right? 1 is now inserting as the splitter. So now 34 is a hammer, 22 is a hammer. 22 is making sure he's not just running out of there. Making sure he's not running out of there. And now as he gets any block at him here, he's making sure he's hammering that back inside. 34 does a good job. He's the cutback, essentially. He tempos it. I'd like to have him on that outside piece. And then ball over blocker, right? Ball over blocker. He sees the back's about to beat the insert to the hole, so now we go get it. And 1 is right there as your splitter. As you see this insert player come through here. Bang. Bang. Again, all about your coverages, where you're inserting guys, how your spacing allows. When you have QB plus 2, you can get really creative with what you're able to do in terms of combating certain run fits here. Okay. Again, we'll take a look at it here. QB plus 2. Get motion. Doesn't affect our coverage here. We're just passing it off. And now we have our safety rolling down. Becomes the third piece. Really good look. Really good look. Great job here. We tempo the splitter, right? Or excuse me, tempo the splitter. We tempo the insert. So as he works his way through, we're now able to get inside piece, outside piece, inside piece, outside piece. And your defensive linemen, they're helping you out a ton, right? It allows your D linemen, really, the biggest thing that we enjoy about it, allows your D linemen to play physical, to play fast, and at the end of the day, ball over blocker. They're going to hold that gap that they're aligned in initially. They're creating knockback. Once that ball declares, they can shed and go because they're not worried. They understand the backers are working leverage to trigger. So they're making sure they're laterally matching that back's leverage, and then bang, they're able to trigger to create that fit. Take a look at it here. A little bit of a slower tempo here. Now we're going to see this counter. Really good look at it. Going to get your dent by your defensive end. Bang. Really good look at that here. Underside doesn't matter. Feed the line, knock back, and bounce it. Okay? And we'll see it on the end zone right now. This is a hammer. Your splitter, and then your safety coming down. We'll see him from the end zone. He's your hammer. So run at him. Safety will be the hammer, splitter, and then he becomes your cutback. Watch this splitter tempo. In terms of the second puller, that Y is the second puller. And again, he's fitting inside of it, right? But now it's ball over blocker. We're rocking and rolling. Okay? Again, like we talked about, it's very easy to manipulate these with your crack replace rules. Okay? So now your corner, okay, sees that the receiver's coming down to crack that safety. He now becomes the hammer piece. He now becomes that hammer piece, and we're ready to rock and roll. Now we'll take a look at it here. Not a great dent up top. Okay, I'd like him to use his hands. He starts wrong arming. This is why we don't like it, because it takes you out of the play. All right. But now as we see this rotate down, the safety coming down, he's making his call. He now has a hammer, splitter, hammer. Okay. 22 is your splitter. So he works, and he's fitting inside of this puller coming through. Your D end, if we take a look at the end zone here, your D end is going to end up taking two, even with the sloppy technique. So as long as it's a car wreck and it's violent and he bounces it back outside, you're good to go. All right. It's a really good look at it here in terms of this splitter 22. Okay. Staying clean. I'd like him, if at all possible, if he can recognize it sooner, stay lateral on that first step, and then he can work over the top of this, okay? But at the end of the day, we want to make sure we're able to stay clean. All right, he undercuts it. I'd rather him work over the top here, over the top, because we're going to bounce this thing to the outside. Right now, he's diving into the muck by going underneath. And then your safety here, with this coming back, right? Run at him, counter at him. He's your hammer. So nothing gets outside of him. He's your hammer. So if this puller were to make it out, he would make sure he keeps his outside arm free and fits it. And we want this splitter to fit over the top so that he can make sure that we have a vice on that puller. And now our Mike backer needs to make sure he is playing that cutback. Does a decent job there, really good track. And that's how you're stop and counter in a variety of looks. Now here's a really good look at it here. We got some condensed sets here. All right, condensed set. So right now, we consider this, okay, we consider this QB plus one, just a condensed set. So now we have our vice again. We have our vice, really good look at 22 here. Being the outside piece, he's seeing a puller. He's going to make sure he's the outside piece. 12 is that cutback piece. They're making sure they're vicing that puller. Okay, it's a hard outside run. 30 in this picture is setting the edge to be your force for perimeter, but it's a really good look at it. They're not triggering on gaps. They're lateral, and now 22 sees that ball trigger, he triggers. 12, same deal. He's tracking. Pads get square, now we're rolling. Creating that vice on the puller. Now, here we go here. Okay, really good here. Again, 45. He's wrong arming here. That ain't good. We just saw him do it perfectly early in the game. Now we're getting lazy on it. All right, now we're getting lazy on it. And again, as we see our safety coming down, we have our hammer, splitter, hammer. Hammer, splitter, hammer. 24 does a decent job. All right, he's playing it top down. Now, he does a good job of avoiding this crack replace. The corner's got to be ready to replace if this makes contact. Okay, if this guy makes contact with your hammer piece, but he does a really nice job. We want to make sure he gets back to outside leverage of this back. But it's a really nice job. Ball over blocker, making sure he's not just going to get engaged. Okay, follow your rules. 30 does a decent job here. He sees it coming back, so he's fitting. He's the splitter. He's the inside piece. He's tempoing the ball. The ball is breaking outside. He's making sure he's keeping this shoulder matching the near shoulder of the back. He's now matching this shoulder. Coming down, top down. 12's got to make sure is the cutback player here. It's a false key, but he needs to make sure he's not bailing out of there. All right, bailing out of there to play your cutback. Really nice job by your hammer player here. Does a great job in tempo. Great ball over blocker. Make a decision. Get him on the ground. Play ends on our terms. All right, take a look at the end zone here. Again, we're going to create our three-man fit. The communication is very simple. You pick a term. You pick a term to let them know. And now we have two backs in the backfield, right? Two backs, QB plus two. So right now, as we see this, we're going to insert a safety. He's from outside this picture. He's coming here. So now this is the splitter. This is your hammer. All right. At the end of the day, if you get two backs, this lead back, we have to leverage to make sure that if they're given flat outside run, we're able to leverage that first initial second level blocker. Really good look at 12's tempo here, but understand the hammer piece, he's got to go with it. It's not man-to-man, just understanding he's got to honor that leverage. Once he realizes he's out of the picture, he's not getting the ball, okay, we can work our way back in. But we need to leverage it. In case it's a flat outside run and he's up lead blocking, he needs to make sure he's able to trigger inside piece, and then your safety rolling through is your cutback. Pretty good tempo here by 30 is the cutback player. You see that window. He's ready to show up, ready to rock and roll. Take a look at it here. Got our three-man fit. So now we got our hammer player coming down, splitter, hammer. Okay? Hammer, splitter, hammer. You see the runs develop. Again, the safety coming top down. He sees this, so he makes sure, hey, he matches, and now he sees the ball given, so he's back in. He's back in the fit. Your splitter working inside out, making sure he's the inside piece on the football. Bang. Okay, overruns it a hair, and now your cutback player, okay, we don't want to guess here. Don't run into blocks. See it. See, run at you. Okay, now we're tempoing the football. We want to make sure that we finish this shoulder on this shoulder. Keep that other shoulder free. It's a little bit of an overrun by your fitters here. They're running a type of midline, if you will. Both sides, a belly almost out of their line. But you got to understand how that fit looks in terms of, you see this back flat. All right, hey, I'm lateral with it. And then once he breaks vertical, that's when we can trigger. take a look at it here. Another example of that three-man fit. Got our three-man fit. Now, QB +2. So nice and easy now. We play a 6 technique, head up. So he's getting knocked back and then winning the C gap late. But we still need to make sure as we get our hammer, splitter hammer, if we get run at us, we need to keep leverage. It's a really good track by 10 here in terms of making sure he's playing that leverage. 22 does a really nice job staying clean. Okay, staying clean. I'd like him to be a hair more lateral to begin with instead of forward. And now 1's your cutback player, and he's making sure, hey, he did a little reduction here, made a call to now send this guy into the B gap so now he can hold his water even longer and then play the cutback. Try to get an extra hat to the party. It's a good look at it. Again, got our three-man fit. 1's coming down late to be your third piece. Really good look at it here. Ball over blocker. So now we're QB, really +3, right? +3. So now we have an extra piece coming down into the box, and now we have an extra piece as a force player here. So wherever, now you have an extra hat into the fit. So anytime now you got a hammer, splitter, and a hammer. It just depends on where the ball's going. Run away, you make sure you got a cutback player, okay? And now you guys are able to dent pullers and kickouts and all things like that because you're a force player outside of he's going to make it right. Really good look at 34 here. He knows he can split under it, but now look how he doesn't just go to attack the block. He slips it, and he goes to find the football. Goes to find that football. It's a really nice job. 22 trying to stay clean. 1, your cutback player ready to rock and roll. Your defensive end, like him to get a better piece, does a decent job denting, except for the fact that he doesn't get his head inside and he's using his forearm. Okay, he creates some knockback here, but it's not enough. Not enough. We talked about toughness earlier. We need to make sure that we're able to get our hat inside, create knockback with lock, using our hands. So really, guys, that's I told Coach that I want to keep it short and sweet, and really, I welcome the opportunity for you guys to give us a shout and hear about what else we're doing. Defensively, program-wise, whatever it is you guys you would like to talk about, I really appreciate it. Always love getting to talk with various coaches and grow our great game. My cell number is here, my email is here, and then again, I know this is unprecedented times for us. As football coaches and just as people in general. But hopefully when this thing clears and we're able to get back to some form of normalcy, we'd love to have you up to Shula Stadium, in University Heights. It's a beautiful, beautiful place to play a ball game, beautiful place to watch one. And we'd love to have you and, different players from your program would love to come visit us. We'd be happy to have you. And please feel free, again, if you have follow-up questions, if you have things, because again, I try to keep these short and sweet. We don't want a 3-hour, online recorded clinic because we'll drive ourselves nuts, okay? Keep these short and sweet. At the end of the day, how do you manipulate and teach simple run fits within a variety of the things that you do? Okay, those 2 fits, we try to make sure at the end of the day, they could cross over into a variety of different types of coverages that we run, okay? And it's creating that same as principle. Do you have your QB +1? Do you have your QB +2? Are you in the 2-man fit? Are you in the 3-man fit? And then you're able to rep them. You're able to circuit them throughout a practice week. And really, you're able to always have comfortability in terms of, all right, at the end of the day, what is their top run game? How are they trying to block us? And how do our coverages get us into those fits? And then once you feel comfortable in that, it becomes, like you saw as the film progressed, getting different people involved in those said fits. So now instead of the offensive line and they're looking for mic points and things like that. It's not always just the same guys. Now it's different insert guys. It's very hard for an offensive line to start counting and inserting safety when he's aligned at 12 yards pre-snap. They don't know if he's coming, okay? So it's really it all starts and then builds. This is like day one, the two types of fits and some different examples and the technique, tiny bit of the technique that we go with it. But really this is, day one of a 3-day conversation, with our guys in terms of building layers on these run fits. And it all starts with starting with the coverage. How does it match? And then, hey, we can create these same as principles throughout a variety of coverages. Okay. Again, thank you so much, Coach Bandstra. I really appreciate you having me on. Excited and love what you do. I was telling them just before we started, this is important in terms of growing our game and getting people better and finding a way to learn something different. So thank you guys again for your time. And again, I'll leave my contact info up for one more moment here. And please feel free to reach out with any questions that you may have moving forward. Hope everybody stays safe and healthy.